Greetings from a fishing village on the Atlantic coast. You've tuned in to Podcast Portwenn, celebrating the world of Doc Martin unofficially. I'm Chesla Wexler, and we'll be discussing Doc Martin, the medicine, the mayhem, and the marvelous people of Portwenn. I'm happy to welcome Erica, Patty, and Doug back to the pod to discuss Best Medicine Season 1, Episode 4. Come through, and welcome back to Podcast Portwenn.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Good to see you guys. So you watched Episode 4, and Erica, welcome back. We didn't have you last week, so it's nice to have you back. I guess we will start with our overall impressions. And Erica, since we missed you, I'll send it to you first.
Well, I like that we're developing the story more. I really thought, I know I'm harping on the blood thing, but I really thought we were close when, when he was saving. So I was very excited, on the edge of my seat. But I think we're getting there. I think they're leading up to that. I thought that the episode was really interesting. I liked that they're bringing in a little bit more of different townspeople and their personalities. Some are a little bit over the top, but I think that's intentional. So yeah, it was a good episode.
Good. Patty, how about you?
I enjoyed it a little bit more than last week. Erica, I don't know if you heard that we, both Doug and I, weren't super excited about the third episode. I did like it a little better.
I loved it.
One of the things that bothered me, though, and we'll see as time goes on, is it going to be formulaic where Doc Martin makes the community upset and everybody hates him, and then he totally redeems himself by figuring something out or whatever. So, how many different ways can they play that same theme? I don't know. We'll see.
Sure.
But, there were definitely things I enjoyed about it.
Good. Doug, what did you think?
Yeah, I liked it. I was back in the happy camp.
Good.
For those that liked it, back to episode 2. I like the fact that the doctor does what is needed to be done, even if it's unpopular. It's like, he's a doctor. He's doing doctor things. And that doesn't please everybody all the time, but it's still the right thing. Although maybe in this episode, he learned that he shouldn't be so quick to jump. I think, Aunt Sally or Aunt Sarah, yeah, I think she may have, there seemed to be an epiphany after she came and yelled at him. So hopefully he'll smooth that out a bit.
Sure. Now, still Doug, favorite thing that happened?
Favorite thing that happened? Well, I think what I just said is he made a diagnosis and he did something that was unpopular, and good for him for standing up for what was right. Was right as far as he could tell.
Yeah.
With the data he had.
You like when he is being a good doctor.
I do.
Yeah. Patty, what was your favorite thing in the episode?
I might have to say the same thing, even though I think that's going to be a theme every time. I like it. I always admire people that stand up for what they think is right, no matter what.
Sure. How about you, Erica?
So my sarcastic answer is that the sheriff was not in much of the episode. But my serious answer is I actually really liked the moment where, at first it all came together with who Dum Dum was and why he's nicknamed that. But that she ended up going, albeit very drunk, to her mother's wedding. And there was that moment when her mom was walking down the aisle and she turned to her daughter and smiled. And I just thought that was a really nice moment.
I agree. I liked that as well. And I agree with you. One of the positives for me was less Sheriff Mark.
I did like that moment between Elaine and her mother, but I was disappointed in Dum Dum because I thought that it was just the daughter being sad that it wasn't her father, and that I really liked the mother in the previous episode. So I was hoping she was marrying a good guy. And then when I found out that he was purposely using expired food, I was like, ugh. And I said to my husband, do you think this wedding's still going to happen? And the next scene it was, and I was kind of disappointed in that, actually. I really wanted him to be a better guy. We'll see what he's like. I don't know. That I wasn't thrilled with him. I still like the mother, but I just wasn't thrilled with him.
Yeah. And you were hoping that the reason that Elaine was not happy about it was just she was getting remarried. It wasn't really that there was something wrong with the guy.
That is what I was hoping.
Yeah.
And I tended to agree with the doctor. You are a dum-dum.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that.
as Doug was saying, it's nice moments. Patty, you agreed, where the doctor comes to kind of his realization of the new way he should be treating townsfolk or behaving. I wonder maybe because Dum Dum, as being the principal, was not really portrayed that way until this episode. And I'm wondering if there's going to be a transformation with him now that he's married, and maybe Elaine, the daughter, is the daughter Elaine? Yeah. So I wonder if like
Yes.
I don't know that it will be a, father-daughter relationship, but perhaps there's something there that will build him into, I mean, a normal principal wouldn't be serving moldy food and trying to cut costs and fire people and close the school. So I was kind of hoping there might be some evolution in his character as well.
You do think that that school is struggling if they're thinking about combining it and he's stretching the budget so far that he's actually poisoning the people who eat there.
Yeah.
What is working for you? How about you, Doug?
What is working?
Yeah. Just overall looking at the series so far.
Yeah, I would say the doctor, he has worked for me from the very beginning. Certainly, Elaine is coming along. I could kind of relate to her a bit last night.
Mm-hmm. I wondered if you would be happier with her in this episode, because I know in episode 2 you felt, was it episode 2 where she sort of came into her own a bit, and then you were disappointed with her in episode 3?
Yeah, or 1 to 2 or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so she's, her stock has gone up from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I could relate to her scene just a little bit.
Yeah. I thought her acting was very good.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Patty, how are you feeling about Elaine these days?
I found it interesting in this episode that she was so upset about her mother's upcoming wedding that she put aside her little show. I found that made her somehow feel a little more sympathetic of a character, not just this silly, I don't know, what is it, Gen Z? I don't know what that age group is called now, but she just seemed more human, more, I don't know. I kind of liked her a little bit better. And I could sympathize with her. I mean, I didn't lose my dad young like she did, but I could sympathize with how hard that must be. Anyway. Mm-hmm.
Erica, what did you think about the Elaine and Martin scene when she's drunk and he's sharing with her?
Well, one, I thought that was actually her best acting that she's done on the show so far. She's usually a little over the top, kind of like the sheriff. So I liked that they brought her down a bit, kind of grounded her a little bit more. But I guess that's really the more cinematic view. But I thought it was very endearing. I think it shows some growth in the doctor as well, that he felt that he could open up to somebody at all about his sister, let alone somebody so young and someone he really kind of butts heads with a lot, which I think is a really good moment. So it definitely endeared me towards her more. I would love to see her have that grounding on a more regular basis.
I kind of felt with that scene that from a Martin perspective, it would be very easy to come across as the men are from Mars, women are from Venus kind of thing. And also like, you have it hard, let me show you that I had it hard too. But it didn't come across that way to me. It seemed more like he was trying to give her some actually useful, comforting advice.
I agree.
He was being a good dad.
You think that's how it went, Doug? He was kind of being a little father figure there?
I think so. I mean, I could very much relate to that scene, given that I lost my father when I was very young. So, yeah, I think he was trying to be a good dad.
Nice.
Yeah. Do the right thing because he knows with his experience that that decision may not be so great in 20 years.
It's interesting juxtaposition because she said the previous doctor was like a dad to her, a father to her. And so that kind of hit the point home of that conversation a little bit more. And as someone, my parents divorced when I was 1. They were both remarried by the time I was 3. I didn't know that people didn't have 4 parents. So I had the other experience. Like I went to school feeling bad for people that only had 2 parents. Like what? Why don't you have 4? So I have the opposite, where I had this life full of extra parents and love, but I could see where that loss, is there too. So
I believe I said to my husband when there were the poignant scene with Elaine that she doesn't need stepdaddy to be her father because Doc Martin's going to be.
Well, maybe you're right.
We'll see.
Yeah. Good perspective. What about the Martin and Louisa relationship? Who wants to go first?
Sure, I'll jump in here.
All right.
Yeah, not too much going on this episode. I just thought it was one, scene, but there didn't seem to be that connection that we saw in previous episodes. Or maybe I missed it. Maybe I fell
All
asleep.
the women are
It
head
is
tilting
straight-
like dogs.
Yeah, so I guess I missed it.
I disagree.
Well, like,
So what part did I miss?
I love this. First of all, I'm pointing. So on my screen, Doug is above me, and I'm pointing like I'm talking.
Yes.
I apologize for that. But if you notice, when Blaze was doing his training, he picked Louisa for pretty much every demonstration, and you could see the doctor's visceral reaction.
Yeah.
Break it up. But yeah, we're done here. We're done here. That's enough. I think we get the point. And then he was trying to show the medical stuff, and all the women were paying attention, including Louisa, to Blaze. He kept kind of coming back. Hey guys, I'm over here. Look at me. Look at me. And I thought there was that twinge of jealousy. I mean, the scene in the woods was very obvious. And I thought it was very kind of her to say, I'll go with you when no one else wanted to. So that's a little bit not on her side. And then, of course, when he caught her and stuff, that's a nod on his side. But there was some jealousy going on in that field for sure. I saw it.
I saw it. What about you, Patty?
Yeah. I definitely saw that.
I thought there was the scene with Blaze. There was the scene when she falls and he's, trying to take care of her. There was also the scene when she first tells him that she had been sick. And he immediately jumps, "You've been sick? Are you okay? What are you doing about it? Are you hydrating?" So there was like this instant switch between clinical doc and personal doc.
Yes.
And then he ended with, "I need a stool sample."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No rush. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Does that make sense, Doug? That like did we catch
Yeah,
stuff that you missed?
So yeah, I guess I must have been on a snack break, right? That was I missed those scenes. I'm not gonna say that I didn't see them. But thanks for straightening me out, ladies.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just love when you said that. All of us were like,
Yeah. We all of us went, what?
We couldn't have scripted it better.
yes. What about the scene with Blaze that you wanted to make a comment about?
Oh, it was between Louisa and Doc Martin, but when she had hit her head or whatever, and he's starting to get woozy. And I was like, wow, that was such a tiny amount of blood. And it wasn't as bad of a reaction, but still, I mean, it takes like nothing to set him off, because I'm not great with blood, but that amount of blood I can handle. And so I was surprised that little, set him off.
I did think it was interesting that even though it was a small amount of blood, he didn't seem to have as a visceral reaction as he has had when he's seen other people bleeding. So it kind of got me thinking, like maybe
he's improving, or just because it was her.
Right, like maybe because of her and his comfort with her, that maybe he didn't have as bad of a reaction. Again, I'm looking for the reason for the blood thing.
I thought it was.
She's looking hard at that.
I thought it was more the amount.
I talk about it every episode. I need to know what the thing with blood is. So I'm really focused on this. But I thought maybe this was like, maybe this is like his therapy. He can work with her because he cares. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But I thought he didn't seem to have such a dramatic reaction as he has had in the past.
I was thinking it was an amount-based thing, because it was a tiny amount and he just kind of had a fade, right? Versus when he has a nosebleed and it's him, he's like panicked in the bathroom.
Yeah.
When it's the kid's knee and it's like held into his face as a surprise, he's passing out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to tee up the George and Greg relationship with Doug first, and then I'm going to let Patty and Erica go at it. So what are you thinking about George and Greg? We got to see their character developed a little bit more this time around.
Yeah, maybe you should have had me gone last, but it seems like they are a working couple that is happy with the restaurant business that they've built, and the that pretty much is their life. And of course, the pig whose name escapes me is, Biscuit is part of it. Brisket. Yeah. Brisket was like, wait a minute, is that going to be dinner? But, so yeah, they seem like a very nice couple who lives and dies with their restaurant and their biscuit.
Sure. Sure. All right. Let's see. Erica, since you missed last week, go first.
You know what? I am all for them. I think every episode I've enjoyed their characters. However, this time I thought they went over the top. And I don't mean over the top in flamboyancy or anything like that. I mean over the top in like not great acting, which I was very surprised at. They were just so stereotypical, and I didn't enjoy that part of it. I loved the storyline of it, and we've already been down this road where the salty whale gets a bad name for some reason, and that's okay. I don't mind that. I figure small town, there's probably only 1-2 restaurants, so we're going to keep seeing the same issues. I love that they love their pig. I thought that it was very melodramatic, and it took away from the storyline, in my opinion. Not that you would be I mean, you should be upset that your pet pig gets taken away. Don't get me wrong. But they never seem to focus on the fact that having a pig that is alive wandering around their restaurant kitchen is a bad thing. And to me, I couldn't around that. Like, no sane person, even a non-restaurant owning person, should know any animal running around, from rat to cockroach to pig, in a restaurant kitchen. It's just not okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Patty, what about you?
Well, yeah, the pig in the restaurant thing kind of grosses me out. So them being that, devoted to the pig, I thought was a little too much. Devoted to the pig being in the restaurant was a little too much. I liked George a little better than Greg, at least in yesterday's episode. I'm not quite sure. Greg seemed a little bit more whiny and silly, and I don't dislike them. I just feel like they're being a little overdone, and I don't know. I guess I would hope that they would be a little more rounded and not as whiny and silly. Somehow it's not like, I like quirky usually, but they're just too much. I don't know.
Okay. I personally have liked George from the get-go. I just really like his character. I think he's super friendly. He's nice. I like him.
Very friendly. Yes.
Greg, the whole time, has seemed to me just a little too overdramatic.
Yeah.
And, I thought the relationship was fine. I thought it was nice. I as a, person who didn't succeed on the kid front but had pets, I understand the sort of, this is my child kind of sense. So a shed is not good enough for my child, right? But I also agree with you guys. You don't have anything that walks on 4, 6, or 8 feet in a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
So that always seemed bizarre. One angle of that I always thought was strange was why Martin didn't put his foot down in episode 1 and say, I'm going to have to report you for this pig unless you keep it out of the restaurant. Because if he does that,
he goes there and gets his food every episode.
Yeah. But I mean, that would immediately solve this problem. And they never would have shut down the salty breeze. And he wouldn't have had to work the whole emotional support animal angle, which I thought was inspired, given that they were where they were. And I thought that was a nice solution that he managed to make some calls and make that happen. But it could have all been avoided. So,
but
I thought,
so the pig's still going to be in the restaurant. I mean,
I am guessing the pig is not going to be in the restaurant.
Yeah.
In the kitchen.
They did say that in the end, that they had to keep the pig out of the restaurant. But I saw the scene where she was walking down the aisle, but I missed the service animal cape thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting to think he's bent the rules on the medication for the pet, for the dog, right, for the sheriff. And he's now probably bent the rules for service animals, because is this Pig really an emotional support pig?
Oh, I think Greg needs something.
He sure acts like he needs something. He needs to be calmed down. He definitely is very dramatic. Well, okay, so we've covered Martin, Elaine, Martin and Louisa, Greg and George. Hattie, do you have something that stood out from you about this episode or about the series in general that you want to just bring up?
I wouldn't say stood out exactly, but there was one little thing that I noticed that I thought was funny. When Doc Martin was examining Blaze, was that his name? The outdoor guy. And Elaine kept going in and out, and he kept trying to get Elaine, the doctor tried to get Elaine to do different things, and she acted like she wasn't going to do them. And, Blaze and Doc Martin couldn't be more different. And yet Blaze is the one that says, she's not a very good assistant or something like that. And I just thought that was so funny that they had that in common, that he's the one that's noticed, and he's so different.
And Martin's like, thank you.
Thank you. Exactly what we said. Thank you. Like nobody else has agreed with me on that, but you did.
Okay. How about you, Erica?
It's not episode wise, but something did click for me on this fourth episode series wise is the cadence of the show. Each episode seems to start out with something wildly ridiculous. I mean, just unimaginably ridiculous. And then it gets to a quirky, funny, working it out thing. And then it ends with more, we're coming together and it's calming and we're solving the problem. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. Because I'm quirky. I don't watch a lot of TV shows that are quirky like that. So sometimes to start it out whoa throws me off a little bit. It doesn't hook me as much. And then as I continue each episode, then I get it and it clicks and I like it. And I don't know if that's intentional, accidental, if I'm the only one that thinks that way, but series wise, so far, every single episode I feel like follows that cadence.
One comment I'd say on that, and it's I've already interviewed my guest for my Doc Martin guest. And one of the things that was brought up was the change between drama and comedy doesn't happen organically. So it kind of goes to what you're saying. It's like this sort of crazy, ridiculous thing happens, and that's a nugget. And then you've got another nugget and another nugget, and it's not necessarily smooth.
It's not as cohesive as I typically. I don't mind the cadence that they're using. I just feel like it's very choppy. So if I was not committed to this project and the podcast, I don't know that I'm enjoying it, but I don't know that I would have stayed watching it based on that. And I don't know if you can answer this because I know we're keeping Doc Martin separate from Best Medicine, but is the cadence, is it as choppy in Doc Martin as it is in Best Medicine? Just a curiosity. I'm not gonna dive into the Doc Martin world too early here. So
my comment on that, to try to keep it very generic, is I believe that Best Medicine seems to be combining comedy and drama as two separate genres that they're stitching together in their episodes. And Doc Martin was a drama in which comedic things happened. So it's a very funny show, but
that's good insight.
Yeah, that's, to me, that is a difference between them.
Can you say that again? What the difference is between how they approach it?
My impression is that Best Medicine has comedic sections and dramatic sections, and they lean into each of those intentionally. And Doc Martin is a drama in which comedic things happen.
So that does sound a little bit, the way you describe Best Medicine does sound a little potentially choppier, the way Erica was describing. I'm going to look for that next episode because I definitely have noticed bits of humor in, some of the different episode in each episode. And so I'm going to look to see if I think it's smooth or choppy.
So I can jump in here. So there was one, and I don't remember where it was last night, but it was drama. And then all of a sudden I found myself laughing out loud.
Yeah.
And I noticed, it's like, whoa, what happened? That hasn't happened in a while. So it was very, as you said, choppy. And I couldn't explain it at the time, but now that you're describing it, I'm like, yeah, it was drama. And then, someone threw in a funny line. that I actually laughed out loud with.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna theorize what that was when they went to search for Blaze and all of the women knew how to be survivalists. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. It's
Thought-
like, wait a minute.
Yeah, they already know how to do all these things, and they were just faking it so they could get this eye candy. But I'll tell you, Doug, according to like the good lines, I think they've given Martin quite a number of very good lines. Like, I wish I could remember some off the top of my head. I mean, certainly the, Louisa, I need a stool sample, but there were several very good ones in there. I thought, like, if you guys put your 3 brain cells together, right, with the teenagers and stuff like that.
Oh, right. Right.
I enjoyed how Greg and George defended Martin. The things that they've said, you're uniquely honest, not rude, and you're cultured.
I forget their backstory. Did they make a lot of money in the stock market or something and then move to Maine?
They're from the city, and they left New York City to move to Maine. I think
So they must have done something lucrative in New York
yeah.
City.
Greg was in finance, and George was a chef to a very famous person who he signed an NDA with, and he can't tell us who
Right,
that
right.
person was.
Right. I remember. I remember that now. Yeah. So, okay, that's where that car came from. 'Cause
Yes.
I was like, that
Yes.
Mercedes 2-seater, that's really
And a classic one to
expensive.
boot.
Yeah.
Something that's always stuck with me is the phrase, what people say about you behind your back is none of your business.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
that scene that you're talking about in the car reminded me of that, is that here are these 2 people that don't know him any better than anyone else in town other than Aunt Sarah. And they have, unbeknownst to him, been standing up for him this entire time. And I'm sure Martin knows that people aren't, well, he knows their people aren't pleased, but I don't know that he knows how much they're vocal about it behind his back. And here are 2 people that have no interest. I mean, they're not going to gain anything from being nice or standing up to him. But here all along, they've been standing up for him. And I loved that scene where they were saying, like, do you even know? Like, we're the reason that you still have patience, and we're the reason. And, and to Doug, what you said about him realizing, like, how he needs to find the gray area and stuff by the end of the episode. I think that I would assume that that's part of it, is hearing from people that, like, there's people talking about you behind your back and it shouldn't be any of your business, but we're going to tell you because we've been standing up for you. It's time for you to start standing up for us too.
Right. And get a clue as to what's going on in the small town.
Yeah. And it just, to me, it reinforces what nice guys Greg and George are. They just seem like they are the heart and soul of this town. When people describe the Salty Breeze as like the center of town, it's not just as a restaurant and gathering place. They're warm people and everyone feels welcomed there, which is nice. I have a question for you guys. In the original Doc Martin, you're always trying to figure out like what makes him tick. And we've learned about Martin Best that he's lost his sister. And he seems to be just wanting to stick to himself, and now he's got this blood phobia thing that seems to be related to maybe something that reminded him of the whole death in the automobile accident. Have you guys ever heard of complicated grief? Because that to me is a diagnosis for Martin Best that fits to me. And it's a grief that goes on for longer than one would expect to be mourning someone. And I just say look it up, and next time we can talk about whether you think that actually fits.
I have heard that phrase, and I think it doesn't have to be like linear either. So you can seem like you got, quote, better for years, and then something can make it pop up again and you feel it deeply as if it were, happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I think there must be something going on like that with him, with the trigger, with the accident with the other little girl. And I think the blood's going to be tied to that, but I don't know, Erica. I'm not sure. I think they might drag that out all season for us. They got to have some hook,
It definitely has to be related to the fact that 8-year-old girl, heart valve, lots of blood, 8-year-old girl, sister, car accident, like heart valve, it just sounds so similar that to me,
Yeah.
I almost feel as if we've already been given the answer of why he has a
Yeah.
blood phobia.
And I think he had to have been okay in between. He
Yes.
just had to have, and that's what I'm saying about, what you said about complicated. Something triggered him, and all of a sudden he's back to being 6 years old or whatever he was. And rather than having been a successful surgeon looking at lots of blood for so many years.
So look it up, see if it fits the bill to you. But okay, so Eric, I heard from you that it's dedication to this show that keeps you watching, but you enjoy it. So it's kind of like this is your reminder that it's Tuesday or Wednesday and it's time to watch Best Medicine, and it'll be okay and fun, but you may not seek it out every week if it weren't for the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I did join, because I think some of the things that we miss out in life on are because we aren't forced to make a move. Uh, and I know it's a TV show, so that might be an overly dramatic statement, but I don't know how this is going to end. I don't know how many episodes. I remember one of my favorite shows is Game of Thrones. And I remember watching that first episode going, what just happened? This is ridiculous. I have no idea what they're talking. I can't even understand their language. And there's naked people and dead people and blood, and I don't even know. And I went and I stuck with it because a friend said, just stick with it. And it turns out to be one of my favorite shows ever. So that's kind of what I mean is I'm glad that I committed to doing something like this, because you never know what you're going to miss out on by making snap judgments. I'm enjoying the show. It just, I don't know that it would be a show that I would continue watching if I wasn't committed to doing something like this, because of the choppiness and the eccentric characters. And so.
Sure. Doug, how about you? You continuing to
I'm
watch
totally enjoying. Well, I'm enjoying the show both from the character perspective. I love the doc and the small town. It's a cool small town. It would be great if the doc would go by a sailboat and we could have some episodes on a sailboat, but that may be a added budget for them.
Yeah.
But I'd certainly enjoy it more.
Yes, I know you're a big sailor, so I know that was the first thing that you mentioned was I'm a sailor and this lovely harbor.
Right. Absolutely.
Patty, how about you? You're going to continue watching?
At episode 3, I was like, if I wasn't doing this podcast, would I keep going with this? Maybe not. And my interest was rejuvenated somewhat with the most recent episode. But yeah, I definitely will stick it out. Would I without this podcast? Maybe, because I'm kind of somebody that sees it to the end. I probably would at least finish a season, but would I, watch it again and again, or watch it for multiple seasons? I'm not sure yet.
Sure,
But
it's early.
I was intrigued enough. I had just kind of recently heard of Doc Martin, or more that it kept coming up, and I said, well, maybe I should look into that, because I used to not watch anything on PBS except Sesame Street when my kids were little. And more recently, I have actually been enjoying some PBS shows, detective shows, and like period pieces and things like that. And so I was, you know what, I should look into this. And my husband independently had started recording it. But I hadn't watched any yet. And then Chesla said, will anybody want to be on my podcast that has not watched Doc Martin? And I said, okay, I won't watch it.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I am definitely, when I'm released from that promise, I'm going to at least watch a few episodes of the British version.
Yeah. And Doug, you had mentioned the same thing, right? You're looking forward to trying out Doc Martin once Best Medicine is under your belt.
Yes, absolutely. Probably after this first season, and see how it compares.
Yeah, because you had talked about you saw Ghosts in the US first, and then you watched the BBC Ghosts, and you liked the US Ghosts better because you had the
Really?
characters firmly set in your mind of what they should look like, how they should act. I know, Patty, I had that opinion too, because I watched the US Ghosts first, but even having those characters in my head, when I watched the BBC Ghosts, I liked it better.
I have not seen the BBC Ghosts, and we do record the U.S. ghosts, but I'm tiring of it. I mean, sometimes it's a little too crude for my tastes. And, I find myself watching an episode and there will be like 2 really great lines that I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this again. But then 3/4 of the episode, I'm just like, eh. So
Okay.
I haven't seen the British one, but I'm just guessing I would like it better, but I don't know.
I have to tell you, this isn't giving out anything. I think that's like trade secret or something. But I think we've actually seen more vomit in 4 episodes of Best Medicine than we saw in the entire Doc Martin series.
Think that US does stuff like that.
Sight gags.
I think I think that's a style that they
Yeah.
don't have,
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, the first teenager scene right at the beginning, where we first see one and then the second one and then the third one, I literally just sat down for lunch. I took my first bite, and that's what I see. And I'm like, I didn't need to.
Perfect.
That was bad timing.
Bad
Bad.
timing. Oh, goodness. Wow. Well, I think it will be interesting to continue out the season. I have no idea how this show is being made. I know there's 13 episodes. I don't know if they're all finished editing. From what I've seen on Facebook pages and Reddit things and stuff like that, a lot of the things that you guys talk about with respect to what you like and what you don't like, that's very common. And I don't know if they have the ability to make mid-season tweaks so that maybe the sheriff becomes less over the top and more normal and Elaine drops the bear. I don't know if they have the ability to reshoot some things and maybe de-emphasize things that aren't landing with audiences. But I really do believe that a second season will take into account a lot of these sort of pain points for people.
Has it been renewed?
I think it's too early to know that. As far as from what I've read of the reviews, it's getting more streaming than a Fox premiere has done in a very long time. So it's really being watched. Critics are liking it, but the reviews that they're getting are a combination of people who are really liking it and then a bunch of people who are really hating on it because they don't want Doc Martin to be remade. Right? Because it's kind of like they feel like this is a perfect thing and it's in English. So why do you need to remake it? And then there's people coming to the defense of that and saying, well, there's shows like The Office that did very well in England and did very well in the US. So I think they just have to get over the hump with people who are super lovers of the original who don't have an open mind to the new one. I keep trying to emphasize with people a phrase that my husband always uses, which is the tyranny of or, the genius of and. It doesn't have to be, I love Doc Martin, therefore I can't love Best Medicine. You can love one and like the other and hate them both, love them both. The existence of one does not destroy the other. What can I say? But thank you guys for your time watching the show, participating on the podcast. Folks who are Best Medicine only watchers, this is going to end our period here. And if you like this show, please like it online, subscribe to the feed. If you have any questions or comments or ideas for what you'd like us to discuss, please drop them in comments, and hope to see you next time.
Bye.
This is the point where, if you're an unspoiled Best Medicine watcher, you want to stop listening. The next segment will feature Doc Martin fans who will be discussing the episode of Best Medicine with all of their Doc Martin background in play. So if you're Best Medicine only, you want to drop now. This is my final warning. I'm rejoined by my partner in all things, Chris. We'll be discussing the Doc Martin fan view of Best Medicine Season 1, Episode 4, from the frozen tundra of the U.S. Eastern Seaboard. Come through and welcome back to Podcast Portwenn, Chris.
I'm glad to be here
Yes.
in our bright and cloudy kitchen.
Yeah, yes, a bit grim outside.
Yes.
So we have just completed watching Season 1, Episode 4 for a second time. Okay, so what are your overall impressions of this episode?
I still like the doctor,
Mm-hmm.
the good doctor. Some of the supporting characters, I think, are still a little over the top and a bit much. And there are some human elements and connections and interactions that I think are very good.
Want to say some examples of either one of those?
Sure. Over the top. I like vomiting humor as much as the next person, maybe even more. And I guess it was nice to have the theme of vomiting. Can you get it on the doctor's shoes? Sort of amusing, but a little bit over the top for my mind. The sheriff, still not a fan. I think maybe in the last episode he seemed a little bit better, not so much in this. Yeah, the way that the ladies, when they were trying to put themselves on their best foot forward, when they were meeting Blaze, and that a little bit, again, a little bit over the top. I think the show would be much better served if they toned those down a little bit. But maybe that is just me and how I like my television shows.
So a little bit more realistic? When you say toned down, do you mean more? Because I know in
Yeah.
prior episodes you've talked about people being caricatures.
Yeah. And they still are a little bit in this episode, in the instances that I just mentioned. As far as the human warm points with Martin and his Aunt Sarah, those are generally good. Although their first interaction, this show, she was complaining about him shutting down the salty breeze. She seemed a little bit too intense, I
You
thought.
thought?
But generally, their interactions are very nice. Martin's interactions with Louisa are generally good. And Martin had a nice interaction with Elaine. Elaine, I think they're toning down a little bit. She didn't have her usual, what show am I having today in the doctor's waiting room? Not so much here, perhaps because she's under the weather, a little upset, a little too upset, I thought, at her mother's coming wedding. But Martin had a nice interaction with her, I thought, when he was
Yeah.
explaining that nobody could replace her father. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that, I mean, I generally agree with you. I thought it was nice to have limited interactions with Sheriff Mark because then we had less Sheriff Mark,
Yes,
which is
agreed.
good. Just because he seems to be constantly over the top. And I would love to see him just settle down and just be the sheriff and be funny by accident rather than playing to be a buffoon all the time. I thought that it was reasonable for Aunt Sarah to have that righteous anger at Martin for just shutting down the salty breeze. And in essence, I mean, really potentially impacting Greg and George's entire business,
True.
making them lose their pet and shutting down what is, as she says, it's like the heart of the village. I mean, this is the restaurant and pub that everybody
Mm.
goes to.
Mhm.
And yet, even though knowing that the health inspector had found everything fine, I mean, you'd think that
Mhm.
potentially he could have found some sort of a solution about the pig earlier, except, you know, he does mention it kind of as an aside. It's something that bothered him. There's a pig walking through the kitchen.
Right.
But think it through. Like, maybe he should have talked to those guys first and said, look, according to Board of Health rules, this pig can't be in the kitchen. Otherwise, you can be fine with it. I mean, just warn them ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. I also like
And
the interaction with Martin and Elaine. I didn't think it was I don't think she was too upset because we don't know what happened to her father. We don't know if he's still alive or they've
Mm.
divorced. We don't know what's going on there, but that's a traumatic thing with your
Mm.
mother is getting remarried is going to be traumatic no matter what, right? And then, you know, we learn through this episode, this guy really is something of a dolt. The principal who serves
Oh,
all
yes.
the expired food. I mean, I don't blame her
Yep.
for thinking this guy is a bonehead.
That I agree.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I could see her getting upset. And I thought, from an acting perspective, I thought Cree did a lovely job being a drunk person. I think Josh Charles does an excellent job with Martin as
Mm.
well.
Yeah, again, he makes him into a very sympathetic character. And really, it was Elaine's reaction in the first part of the show that I thought was a little over the top. After that, I thought she was much more reasonable.
Okay. So when she was just kind of being whiny about it and
Hmm.
early on, all right.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you sort of see when she's drinking how upset she really is and why.
Hmm. The scenery is very nice
Mhm.
around there.
I agree with you on the women sort of fawning over Blaze. And it's not that I object to the idea. I thought that that was fine. And I thought it was kind of a funny plot line to feel like they're all showing up and acting like they're complete idiots. And then you find out later that they're crack survivalists. And
That was a nice touch.
yeah, that was well done. But I just thought that scene could have been kept. It just seemed like it dragged on for a very long time to me. Yes.
It seems the writing still seems a little uneven to me. That I think they have some very nice moments and nice words, and then other things, which gets back to the caricatures, that they're bringing things in for trying to make things a little too funny. That might be direction. I'm not sure.
I don't know which it is. I don't know how shows get made when you're in your first season. Are you trying to put a variety of things out there because you're not sure what'll attract the audience? In which case, we'll add some of these tender scenes, some of these complete caricature scenes. So I don't know how that is done. Is it done intentionally, or did they not quite have a clear idea how they wanted the show to go? I feel like, unlike the original, which always seemed like a drama that had funny elements in it, this one seems like we'll do drama in this scene and comedy in this scene. It seems like it leans in different directions rather than having a single approach.
Right. It's not blended well. That you have sort of, thinking of not blending, you have elements or nuggets of one or the other, and it could be like more organic, that it flows from one to the other, the way life flows.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree. I thought that the emotional support animal idea was a inspired one.
I like that. And as the ring bearer
Yes. Yeah.
in the wedding.
Which was a good thing to catch. I didn't catch that in the first viewing. I couldn't figure out, are they just gratuitously walking the pig up the aisle to show that he's an emotional support animal? I couldn't quite figure out why he was there, or she. I guess Brisket's a she. But I then realized, the pillow on the back makes sense. What did you think of Greg and George, the Salty Breeze proprietors, when they complained to Martin outside of his office?
I like that. They actually don't seem that much like caricatures to me. I don't know why. And they seem like good people, and they point out that they've been defending him against all what other people say. Now maybe they're just trying to be good people and looking for good in everybody, and looking for good in Martin, saying what can they say that's good about him.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good scene. I really like George, but Greg's a little overdone for me, just a little too dramatic. But that's, just the way they've written the character. I mean, I just like George's personality better.
What did they call his rudeness? Refreshingly honest?
Something like
Was
that.
it?
I forget what it was, but uniquely honest?
Could be.
Yeah, something was uniquely, I forget, but I thought that those were good lines. I also think Martin has a bunch of very good lines. I liked the scene where Louisa tells Martin that she had been sick, and he's immediately concerned about, are you okay? Do you still feel well, or how are you taking care of yourself? I thought that was a very good scene because, she was complaining about the salty breeze and all that other stuff. And I liked that scene. I thought the two of them did very well together until the very end, where Louisa got into that sort of, I don't know, just it seemed very flighty, a little flightiness at the end that never sits well with me because I really want her to be more of a self-assured, confident character. And when she's got those little, I don't even know what to call them, but hems and haws, it just doesn't seem to fit other parts of her character.
Yeah, that was in the beginning of the show, beginning of the episode. Yeah. And in that sense, a little bit uneven there.
From a Doc Martin episode perspective, I think we see that Blaze is something of a stand-in for the episode where Stuart, the park ranger, has a survival class that Joe and Al attend, so it's not the women of the village.
That was in the 7 or 8
Yeah, it was
season?
a pretty late stage thing. And then the food poisoning at the Salty Breeze is when Bert has his restaurant. And they get blamed for food poisoning by a little girl in school who gets sick.
Right.
Yeah. So I do like how they are taking sort of elements of plots of the original show and using them in different ways?
Well, you can contrast the inspection of the kitchens, because in the original Doc Martin, Bert's kitchen
It was bad until
it was really
Mick
bad.
came. But when Mick
Yes,
came, right?
that's
Mick
right.
came, cleaned it all up.
Right. Yes, he did.
Yes.
Yeah. But Bert by himself,
Nah,
what a nightmare.
not good.
Yeah.
Well, anything with Bert was something of a nightmare, right?
So it was nice to see the kitchen in the salty breeze pass inspection. Well, except for the pig, but be the best, most immaculate kitchen that the inspector had seen. So that
Right.
was nice.
And
Nice to see.
even Brisket is clean.
Hmm.
And Brisket's 18 years old and they've never had a problem, so
Right.
it's not
Yeah.
Brisket.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Still planning to watch? Still liking it decently?
I still like it. I am still planning to watch it. I'm just looking at my notes. Yeah. Yeah, I think the nice moments, they need more of those. The overly silly moments, they need less. But they could blend it in,
Mhm.
I think, much better.
I don't know how a show works. Like, I understand that there's
Mm.
13 episodes in this first season. I don't
Mhm.
know if they're all made.
Mm.
So I'm not clear whether or not any sort of course corrections are possible in season 1 at this point, or if some of them are not made yet, or they're still in editing and maybe they can bring some people in and tone down a scene. I would see some of these things that we've been talking about. Now, granted, who are we? We're nobody. And you and I, my guests, we're not some representative sample of people necessarily. Like, I haven't done any sort of vetting. It's not like I know how to choose people who meet some random criteria for doing a survey on, right? So I
Yeah,
want to make that.
specific demographic.
Yes. So we're nobody, right? But I've seen enough on various Facebook pages and Reddit pages and things like that, that what we are talking about with respect to Elaine and her online stuff driving people nuts is fairly consistent. Mark
Mm.
being too over the top and buffoonish, very consistent comment.
Mm.
I would think that with those being very clear things, if not all of the episodes in season 1 are already in the can, it might be possible to do some tweaking to shift it in a different direction if the people who make the show think that that's important. I have no idea how they pull their reviews and what they do with the information, but I do hope it makes it to a second season, and I hope that some of these things are tweaked, and
Yeah.
I think if they are, I think it has an audience out there. And I think that it can be improved upon not only for the unspoiled audience, but the people from the Doc Martin world who are enjoying it. And even maybe some of the haters, if things were changed, they would like it better.
We'd like it better. I'd like it
Yes.
better.
Yes, yes. But
So.
it's entertaining. It's nice to have a show
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
has simple problems.
Yes.
We can all use a little laugh and a simple problem. I also
Yes.
have to agree with you on the vomiting. Like,
Yeah.
I would prefer seeing the implication or that it's implied vomiting more than I really need to see the vomit.
Yes. Once or twice, kind of funny. Could be funny, but so many times, maybe too many times.
Yeah. And frankly, I mean, you could have people vomit on his shoes, but you can just see a person who's going to lose it. And you can see the look on his face, like, without ever showing his feet. And you would know exactly what happened.
True.
All right. Any other comments?
I like Bert and Al.
Yeah.
They seem good.
I really
mean, I
like
like-
Al. Al's charming.
And competent.
Yes.
Hey, high praise from Doc
Right.
Doc Best.
And Bert does not seem incompetent. Bert just
No.
does things that Martin doesn't want him to do.
Yes, like the animal door for the kitchen.
Yeah. And he, he does not listen to Doc Martin's advice when he tells him that he needs to rest and he almost crashes his van.
Ah, yes.
Right. But otherwise, he seems to be a decent handyman so far.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I look forward
Okay.
to watching future episodes with you. So if you've liked this episode, I would love if people would like it online, if they'd subscribe to the feed, say some nice things about us in the comments if you want. If you have ideas, I'm always interested to hear what you have to say about future episodes of the podcast. And thanks so much for joining. Thanks for joining Podcast Portwenn. Podcast Portwenn is an independent fan production, not affiliated with, endorsed by, or sponsored by Buffalo Pictures, ITV, Fox, or the creators of Doc Martin or Best Medicine.